Gluttonous Grimoire. Aw man, the old GG. One of those items that are so bad that you may as well prep your fingers to type it in the post game, because that lobby is ending soon. That's right, I'm talking about the worst magical lifesteal item called Gluttonous Grimoire. And yes, elephant in the room, I hate lifesteal in Smite 2 and tend to think it's super overpowered. But this one right here, despite my bias, needs some help bad. Gluttonous Grimoire. What a name. Unfortunately for Mr. GG, the name's really all we've got. Released in OB15 all the way back in July with Hoi alongside literally 12 other item shifts and additions, this one unfortunately has been collecting dust. I actually think this huge spur of item releases at once is likely to blame for this, as when items typically come out more spread and more one at a time, their balance tends to be better. But when they come out in a batch like this, some get forgotten instead, but that's a topic for a different video. Anyways, let's look at Gluttonous Grimoire. For the price of 2600 gold, a rather steep cost, we have 40 intelligence, 150 health, 7.5% lifesteal, and a passive that reads as such. Store 25% of your lifesteal healing as bonus magical damage on your next attack. If at full health, store 40% instead. However, this bonus magical damage is capped at 33% of your maximum health. Now you might be thinking, is that bad? Well, let's try to give Gluttonous Grimoire its ideal case value. Obviously, this item is meant to be a niche lifesteal item, one that compounds with other lifesteal items for a mostly sustain-esque build that packs additional damage as a punch. You could go full lifesteal, but that's so weak in this game with the int values from a lot of those items that it probably wouldn't be worth it, and just trust me on that. So let's go more hybrid-y, full damage int items with some lifesteal items together. Okay, cool. So we've identified the build case, a kind of high sustain lifesteal build. So let's think of gods that actually want to build this and can work with this. Pele. Well, no, she doesn't have int scaling. So Anubis? Sure, maybe. Okay, great. We're here on Anubis, and this is our build. Bancrofts, Sands of Time, Totem, Deso, Tahuti, Soulgen, and Gluttonous Grimoire. And this is our int, 675, and this is our enhanced Gluttonous Grimoire auto attack. 543 damage. Now, that actually looks kind of good, right? Well, not really. To get to this amount of 543, we of course had to be full build, so our damage value would be lower if we went this item earlier and had less lifesteal and whatnot, of course. That being said, 543 is actually not a bad number. Rather, it's the setup required to use this item that I feel is counterintuitive. I can't auto-attack an enemy god until I get the full value of this Gluttonous proc, or else I'll just be doing fragmented amounts of less damage. Again, I also need to be at full health for this idealized value to work, because normally it's 25% bonus damage, but because I'm full health, it's 40%. So I'm going to stack up my damage on waves or whatever, cool, again being full health, but then I actually need to get the hit off practically, so me damage threading auto attacks in my combo, which is what good players do, feels kind of wrong. Again, it's not actually bad, but it doesn't really make sense with the item. Let's now look at a different item you could build on Anubis, Polynomicon. Now I'm not going to advertise Poly on Anubis, I wouldn't recommend it. In fact, post Polynomicon nerfs, I would largely not recommend it in general as an item. That being said, look at the actual damage with Polynomicon in the same build replacing Gluttonous Grimoire. 375. Yes, that's less than Gluttonous, but it's so much easier to reasonably apply and much quicker. Again, this is also with Polynomicon in a sort of lifesteal build. Again, I picked Anubis. This is the ideal Gluttonous lifesteal god. And if Poly with this type of build isn't even that much worse, with a much more consistent case basis, that's kind of a problem. And remember, Poly isn't even a good item anymore. It's almost completely fallen off of mage builds. So what does that show us? Alright, I think I've driven my point here. Nice damage in theory, but it's kind of awkward in practice. Yeah, I get it. Again, It's a niche item, and I want to keep it niche. Totally cool with that. But here are my suggested changes to make Gluttonous Grimoire not an overpowering item, but something just a bit more valuable if you actually commit to it. I've always been a huge proponent of buffing an item in a way that allows the uniqueness it brings to shine, and a simple stat adjustment of increasing more intelligence or something like that, in my mind, would simply put it closer in line with some of the other more boring magical statistic items while making it just be worse still. So here are some ideas. Okay, so first we're going to look at the passive. So this is currently the passive right now. Rather than this passive, we're going to increase the maximum health cap that you have for this proc from 33% to 44%. What this is doing is that this is going to incentivize building lifesteal and health together, because your proc is going to be doing more of your maximum health, so you having more health obviously means more damage. I know this is kind of a weird combo, but we're in the spirit of embracing the uniqueness of this sort of weird item. So seeing that health is already actually on this base item, we have some precedent for health in items such as Jade Scepter as well, so this actually fits decently well. Yes, the conditional value again is still a little bit awkward, but if you put the commitment forward to building this item, I think the damage value being higher is a good thing. We also will actually reduce the bonus magical damage of the next attack from a general basis when you're not full health from 25 to 20%, making being full health a lot more valuable. But again, if you're actually at full health, we're now going to increase the bonus damage from 40 to 50%, making being full health way more valuable from the said lifesteal. So we're really narrowing the idea of full health. Stack it up, you are really owning. If you're not full health, if you don't have it stacked up, you're suffering a tiny bit more generally. Now you might say, is this a pretty OP proc? Maybe, but the health is so hard to build in this game right now because of how overtuned items like Soul Reaver and Kins are, that I think it kind of just evens out the playing field if you are building high health. In addition, we'd also just raise this item base health by 50 points, so it'd be 150 health raised up to 200 health. And that's that. So our new Gluttonous Grimoire looks like this. Thank you guys for watching. Huge thanks to Chang'a Best for the help with this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.